Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Today we are going to watch as we build the Northbound Manifest from Coxton to Johnsville with work in Billery. First up, we are pulling out the cut from the track here. This train is blocked in Coxton because when we get to Billery, there's not a lot of space and it's a busy yard. And so we want to make sure that all the cars that are going to be served by Monsignard and Billery are at the front of the train so they can be cut out very quickly. And we can pick up our block from there and keep on moving north. So the yard in Coxton takes the time to go ahead and block the train. So the way it's going to be blocked, we're going to use these 6 tracks over here on the left. And what you're going to see is the cars that are being sent to Billery and Monsignard are going to be grouped on the 2 tracks on the left, which are closest to the camera right now. And then all the cars that are going to be bound for Johnsville or any town or industry that's served by the yard in Johnsville are going to be grouped on the middle 2 tracks. And then all of the cars that are going to be going up to the Southern Pacific Main Line up in Pine Bluff, which is, not actually on the route. It's our northern connection. So if you keep going north, you reach Pine Bluff. Those cars are going to be the ones that are on the 2 tracks furthest away from the camera right now on the right. We do have our road power sitting over here on the right, waiting to come in once the yard goat gets off the lead here. Oops, had to run a little modification there. It happens sometimes. I was shoving down the wrong switch. But that's more or less how we block this train. I have a list of all the car tags and, which towns and whatnot they go to. So what you'll end up seeing in a second is I'll pull the car tags up and you'll be able to see, just kind of how I use those to help navigate as I'm doing the switching. Because this is about 3,000 feet of train, we do go ahead and break it into 2 separate cuts when we do the classifying. And here's those car tags. These are really handy when we're classifying cars in a yard. Just they make it very simple to see. Plus also as it starts to get dark, these are still very visible, which is super helpful. It's a lot easier than trying to look on the side of a car at night when you don't have a flashlight in-game. We're going to go ahead and start making our last moves here to get it together, and then normally the way that happens is once you get it all classified, you go ahead, use the yard goats, you go ahead and build the train. It's called, in this case, it would be a triple. We're pulling up 3 tracks out. And so you would, back up, connect, and then pull out, back up, connects to the next cut, and then pull that cut out, so on and so forth. And then we go ahead and we do the long shove to get it back on the ready track here in Nick's yard. And once the yard goats get out of the way, we pull up the road power, get connected, and then we're ready to head out. Here's our move as we back up. We got our caboose way back there waiting for us, so we're going to come back and shove and connect there. You see the yard here is pretty busy today. And then this is the cut of us bringing our head-in power back. These guys have just a little over 5,000 horsepower together, so definitely going to be enough for the train. But if you watch further, you'll see that we don't always get to move very fast, so it's just enough to get us moving. Well, here we are sitting in Coxton, and it is about time to head north. Today we're running the daily manifest from Coxton to Johnsville. We only have work in Billery. There's no work anywhere else. And our departure time from Nick's yard in Coxton is 7:15, which is going to be coming up here very soon. I will say a couple things before we get going. You'll notice the scenery has been changing in the background quite a bit. I'm definitely doing some major work on the route layer, just making things look a lot nicer, close to the tracks, making it look less generic and more like I paid some attention to it. But also, if you go back and watch the first part of this video where we were building this train, it was coming up on nighttime. It was like 5:30 or so. And I really would love to watch this train operate at that time of day and everything, but you just really be able to see very much. And so I made the executive decision to simulate that we're running it in the morning on the next day. That way we can have some sunlight. But if you look up there, it's 7:15 now, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to head out here. Off we go. We'll see you on the other side. Train's pretty heavy, so we're having to run at notch 4 here to get started. I think it's right around 3,100 tons or so. It's a pretty good sized train for just these 3 Gen 1 and Gen 2 diesels. Well, this is the beauty of running operations. You get to see when things aren't working quite right. We currently have a medium clear indication, and that is not correct. We should be getting a green over red for a clear indication, so I'm going to have to go back and do some programming on that signal. I will say it is easy to forget just how much train you have within 3,000 feet. You may think that 3,000 feet isn't very long, but when you look at it here, this is actually quite a few cars we're going to have to be switching out as we get rolling. Well, now that we have exited yard limits, we can now pick up to track speed, so we're going to notch up a bit here. I personally like to drive from cab view, so this is how I like to operate. I imagine that most of you guys would like to see some of the routes, so I'm not necessarily going to keep us stuck in the cab view like this. But when I'm driving, this is definitely how I like to do it right here. It's the best way in my opinion. Well, I hate to say it, but this beautiful bridge here has actually been marked to get replaced. It doesn't give enough space in the riverfront to actually get a ship through, so we're going to have to get a wider span here. It's a beautiful bridge. Its days are numbered. Here we are cruising north through High Bridge. This here was another 700-ish foot stone bridge that had to get replaced because of the river. We had to make sure we get a span wide enough to be able to get ships through. The new bridge looks nice, of course, too, but I did also like the old one that it replaced. Even though we have a track speed limit of 60 miles an hour, For all manifest trains on the Coxton sub, we are not to exceed 40 miles an hour. That's why we are staying nice and low at our comfortable 40. Well, our dispatcher accidentally had a switch line against us, so we were going to have to stop at this signal. And right around the time that we were just about to get stopped, he went ahead and got the switch fixed and got us a high ball right on into loop. Well, here we are coming into Shifnal. Shifnal has a iron mine off to our right that gets served by a local. We can do some switching in the yard here, and then it has, a team track and a stock track. Other than that, there's really not too much else that goes on here. Just a couple industries, tool mill, and everything else just runs through. Now that we have crossed back over to the east bank of the Arkansas River, we are going to be heading into Billery soon. Probably still about technically 4 miles out as the railroad runs. If we were a crow, we'd be probably a mile and a half maybe. But getting close, we're gonna have to stop here in Billery and Monsignor because we have some work to do. Here we have an advanced approach signal indication, and that's because we're actually going to be taking a diverge about 2 miles ahead. When I first saw this signal, I had to think for a second why I was getting this indication. It just didn't make any sense. So I went ahead and kind of peeked ahead a bit, and then I remembered that there's actually quite a few switches and everything. We're heading up into an interlocking soon. And so that's our advanced approach indication telling us that we've got a caution coming up, and then after that, we're going to be taking a diverge. And here's why. Just up ahead, you can see the approach medium. This is telling us that we're not taking the diverge that's right in front of us, but we're going to be taking the next diverging switch. Just one of the best part about having a signaling system is getting these unique indications like this. Where we are currently, we're at CP South Billery, which is just to the east of the city of Billery. And we're going to be taking the diverge up here to get over into the yard lead for Monson Yard, which is where we're going to do a block swap. And if the yard was currently being worked, usually a train heading northbound would actually have to hold right here and wait. Fortunately for us, since we're the first train out this morning, we don't have to do any of that. So we're going to be able to get up here pretty quickly and go ahead and get our work done and then get moving on north up to Johnsville. And here we are with the diverging clear indication telling us that we are going to be taking the next switch and we are cleared for at least 2 blocks. If you've watched the video on the Meade Mill Run, this is the branch connection here where the Meade Mill breaks off to the left. So we're coming off the main line heading northbound into Monsignor. Well, we will take this crossover and we will then be on the RD track for Monsignor. Monsignor does have 8 tracks. 6 of them are for classifying cars, 1 is for running around, and the other one is for trains that arrive and depart. If you've watched the video for the Meade Mill Run, part 2, you get a little clip of the sorting that was done for the cars up ahead of us. And that would kind of help you see, kind of how everything got where they are. And then here in a minute, we're going to talk about which ones are going to start picking up. All right, now that we have officially come into Monson Yard and come to a stop, we are going to go ahead and cut this video for part 1. I've been driving for about an hour, loving it so far. I got an hour of good footage, but definitely need to condense that down into bite-sized pieces. So what we're going to do is for part 2, stay tuned. Here in a few days I'll have part 2 coming out, and what will happen on part 2 is we will pull the road power off, we will make the block swap with the yard crew, put the road power back on, we'll hit a brake test, and then we will get rolling northbound out of Billery heading towards Johnsville. And almost all of this train is going to get cut in Johnsville. So but stay tuned on part 2. We'll talk about kind of how we decide which cars go and whatnot, and it'll be a good time. So thanks again for joining, and appreciate you guys. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, and thank you guys for being a part of the trip so far. We'll talk to you later. Enjoy it. Bye.